We'll only be able to see each other.
Yeah,
If
we
we-
can't see them.
Yeah,
but
we
they can
can't see
us.
into the, yeah. All right, just 6 o'clock now. So welcome everyone to the Joint Student Government Open Forum. This is presented by ASCC and SFC. So we have members from both committees in the panelists today, and the ones that couldn't make it to this meeting made it to last meeting. So there's someone from both committees on this panel. So Michael, if you want to go to the next slide. So the agenda for just like our opening like slideshow and explanation is right there. We'll do introductions of everyone on the panel. We'll break down what is ASCC and what does the executive branch do and mean, what is SFC, which is Student Fee Committee, and just go over the basics, and then we'll do a Q&A for most of it. But that is the plan. You're gonna go to the next one, Michael. All right, so for introductions, I'll go ahead and introduce myself, and then everyone else on the panel will as well. I'm Taha El Wafadi. I use he, him pronouns. I am the ASCC president, and I formerly the SFC and ASCC vice chair and SFC chair. Just came into the position recently, and then I am a second year social science major, political science minor. Elizabeth?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Elizabeth Banderas. I use she, her pronouns. I am the ASCC vice president, which also makes me the SFC chair.
Awesome. Michael?
Hello, my name is Michael Tornada, he, him pronouns. I'm the student inclusion coordinator for ASCC, and I'm a computer science major in my senior year.
Thank you, Michael. Emerson?
Hi everyone, my name is Emerson. He, him pronouns. I am a member at large on Student Fee Committee, and I am a senior in the American Studies program at OSU-Cascades.
Thank you, Emerson. Andrew?
Hi, I'm Andrew Hepworth, he, him, his. I am the Director of Public Relations for ASCC, and I am a second year computer science student.
Thank you, Andrew. Mo?
Hi everyone, my name is Mo. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the Director of Administrative Affairs on ASCC, and I'm a junior in the kinesiology.
Thanks, Mo. Emil?
Hi everyone, my name is Emil. I use the pronouns he, him, his, and I am the club and club sports coordinator for the Student Fee Committee, and I am a second year psychology major.
Awesome. Thank you, Emil. All right, we're good to go to the next slide. Michael? All right, so ASCC stands for the Associated Students of Cascades Campus. It is your student government, and it currently has two branches, the ASCC Executive Branch and the Student Fee Committee. They work together to represent students, allocate student fees, and just be your representing body. They also work as checks and balances for one another, so anything that SFC or ASC votes on, whether that be like constitutional changes, the student fee for the year, budgeting, stuff like that, it is ratified by the other committee. So any of our decisions go through two committees of voting to make sure that it has checks and balances and that we're representing student voice. Michael, you're good to go to the next one. All right, so some of the student services that's offered through ASCC are the food pantry, which this year has been a little tough because of COVID. So we've had both online orders through the food pantry for physical food or a way to send you guys gift cards to your address. And I'm going to let Michael go over a couple other student services as well. So, Michael.
Yes, so we have the child care subsidy program where you can apply for a subsidy fund for childcare. We have a Safer Living Kit program that the student advocacy director and I put together, which is basically just providing like your fundamental basics for living needs. We have an equity lounge, which at the moment is just a couch in the student government office, but we're working on getting dedicated multicultural space. So that's in progress. CET passes, course reserves, and then our new housing subsidy that we're creating, which is basically just a fund that we're hoping to have available to assist with students in their living expenses in Bend. And then do you want to go on with the rest of them?
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. So lobbying for OSU-Cascades in higher education is something that we really try to do. We used to be part of an organization called OSA. We left the organization last year. And so, students have really filled that role, and we've been doing it for years in the past as well. So going to lobby days, going to the Capitol and talking to legislators about the Student Success Center, especially in these past couple of years, and getting funding for the Student Success Center, a new building, but also just in general for higher education needs and bills that would support students in higher education. We have graduate student programming. There is a graduate student position on ASCC that's still open. So if there are any graduate students that would like to apply for that position, please do. Diversity and equity programming, a lot of that goes through Michael, and we've been doing some virtual programming. Normally that stuff's in person, and like Michael said, we are trying to find space for a multicultural center. Funding for veterans programming, so that funding goes through Zola in the financial aid office. She also runs our programming for veterans, and she does a wonderful job, and we fund that every year. So always some good programming for our veterans. And the campus development fund is through SFC. You would apply through SFC, but it is for, for you to be able to apply for up to $700 to go to anything that would help you develop professionally, and then you would come back to campus and try and help students out through whatever that is. It could be a woofer, it could be some type of conference that you're interested in, and then club funding, which is also from SFC, is for all of our clubs. They're all funded through student fee dollars, and as of right now, none of our clubs have a registration fee or a membership fee, so they're all free for you to join. If you want to go to the next one, Michael. So this is just a breakdown of ASCC in positions and how it's set up. So we serve to promote the interest of students of OSU-Cascades. So we try to be a bridge between students and administration. We are in a lot of meetings for students and try and advocate student voice. We also help manage student support programs, the ones I just touched on. We go to those lobbying days, normally run by our legislative affairs person, Mads Gwen, this year, and help diversity and inclusion on campus. So just to break down the structure for you, and the vice president, who's Elizabeth, is the chair of the student fee committee. So it's a branch off of ASCC. And then the director of legislative affairs. So those three top positions are the positions that are elected, and elections are coming up here in spring term. So if you'd like to run, please run. And if you would like to, and please, everyone who has the ability and who has the time, please vote. It is your voices that matter, and pick the people who are going to represent you this coming year. So and then the other positions we have down here, who all introduce themselves, but the director of student advocacy, director of admin affairs, director of public relations, student inclusion coordinator, and graduate affairs coordinator. All right, thank you. Elizabeth, you want to go over SFC?
Yeah, so the student fee committee is committed to serving OSU Cascades by building a diverse community, supporting creativity, and encouraging learning through the allocation of student fees. So I sit on as the chair, and then we have our vice chair, who is Islam, our secretary, who is Justice, our treasurer, which is currently an open position, but Islam is filling in, the campus development coordinator, who I am filling in on that position, and that is also going to be an available position coming up. We also have the club coordinator and the sports club coordinator, and 2 members at large. And so those are just any students that serve on the committee with not as many job functions as the rest of us. Can you go to the next slide, please? So what SFC does is takes the incidental fee that you guys pay every term, and we put it in a pot and it's given to us, and we as a committee have to divide that up between all these different programs. So SFC funds ASCC, ourselves, Events Council, Student Life Marketing, the clubs and club sports, Cascade Adventures, the Fitness Center, Intramurals, Veteran Services, the Campus Development Fund, Transportation Services, Course Reserves in the library, Equity Programming, the lobbying efforts, and student expansion, so the buildings. And what we do is we meet once a week and we discuss these issues. Students come to us, the different committees come to us and request certain amount of funds. And as a committee, we have to decide who gets what and keep things fair. And we do so with student feedback. So we couldn't do that without all of you students. Okay, Michael.
So just some of the basics for the job that we're all in. We attend weekly meetings, which are going to be listed here at the end and are on both of our websites. If you just look up SFC, OSU-Cascades, or ASCC, OSU-Cascades, you can find a link. They're all open meetings, so you're welcome to come to them as students, give us input. There's always open public comment sections for students to speak during. And then we on SFC, we do a spring budget hearing every year, which is another requirement of the SFC. We maintain a 2.5 cumulative GPA, are expected to represent student voice, all student voice. So if you have something for us, if you'd like to reach out to us, we do have emails on our website, and all of our meetings are on the website. We're getting office hours up on the website as well. And then hold office from commencement to commencement. This is, for mainly for the elected positions, but all positions are rehired in the spring. And then for the elected positions after commencement, the new people come in, and then at the next commencement, obviously new people are elected by that time. And then the other requirement of being on student fee committee or ASCC is that you're at least a part-time student, which is 6 credits. And yeah. We use Robert's rules for our meetings is another big thing. If you come to a meeting and you're confused about what's going on, please just send us a chat or talk to us during the meeting and we can explain what's going on. But it's basically just how we keep order in our meeting, and it's pretty standard. If you want to look it up online before you come to one of our meetings, you're welcome to do that as well. All right, Michael. All right, and those are our public meeting times. So Wednesdays at 12 p.m. and Thursdays at 8 a.m. for SFC. And so please feel free to hop on the website and come join those meetings. All right, good for the next one. Now we're going to open it up to questions. It looks like we already have some, so I'll get started. The first question is, what is the most important department or service on campus? I wouldn't say that any are particularly more important than the other. I think that all the departments in this school work together to have it run and function well. It's something that we have good. One of our concentrations this year was to have good communication with admin and other departments so that we can better serve students, showing up to different meetings and committees and trying to really have student voice be in those committee meetings and just work as a cohesive unit with the university. Do any other members have a response? No. I think Doug's pretty important personally, if we're gonna just narrow it down here. I don't know if he's in there in the dining hall, but an essential part of OSU Cascades, really a pillar. But yeah. All right. Let's see here. What is something you and your team want to improve on this year? Just my answer really quickly would be what I just said earlier, which was just be on more committee meetings and have student voice be represented on them. There's a leadership team meeting that I've been attending that we got committees before me got a position for students to be on that, which is super important. You know, it's a lot of the admin, it's a lot of the departments discussing some very important things. And so just bringing student voice to committee meetings and hoping to communicate that to the university. Does anyone have anything else? Okay. Okay, I like to dance, especially hip hop and ballet. Could my student fees go towards a gym pass or attend dance classes locally or other options? If for something like that, it would normally go through a club. So if you started a dance club, you would come in and propose that club. And I'm going to let Emil touch on this a little bit more, but it would normally be through a club and you would apply through SFC. Emil?
Yeah, just to expand on the club, it's pretty easy to set up a club. You just need 4 students, a faculty advisor, and then you can work with me to create a constitution, because clubs are self-governed bodies, so a constitution is required to create a club. But once you have your 4 students and your advisor, faculty, or staff, you would come into an SFC meeting and propose a budget that can later go towards gym passes to attend dance classes or other dance related resources.
Awesome. Thank you, Emil. Let's see here. How are you adapting your services and representation with the student life survey results? Sounds like Elizabeth has an answer.
Yeah, that's a great question. So after the student life survey went out, we actually spent quite a few weeks going over and really looking at these results and seeing what we could do to fill the gaps and answer a lot of the questions or the unknowns. So what we did with marketing over the past few weeks was hold a marketing campaign on just what ASCC and SFC is, who we are, and what we do. So if you've been following along our social media, you will have been noticing that there have been staff bios put up on the Instagram, and different councils taking over and just trying to answer some of that questions to bring light to who we are and what your student fees are spent on. And then just initiatives that we're recently starting with, where we're noticing that there's insecurity. So we're working on a housing subsidy. We are trying to make more green or eco-friendly choices in what we do, how we market, and the supplies that we purchase. So we are working on answering the concerns and the results, and we will continue to do so even through next year.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So another question is, how would we go about getting a leg press or cable machine in the fitness center? So that would go through Julia, who runs recreation and the fitness center. There's a lot of space issues in there as well, just like trying to, I know something that's come up, not well versed in that realm, but I think that a lot of it was just a space issue of like trying to fit certain machines in there. So it's definitely something that would go through Julia. You can email her or just come into the Office of Student Life. She's in there a lot, and give her some questions. And we can take feedback to her as well, especially on SFC. SFC funds the fitness center and recreation. And so if you have suggestions for them, you can go to them directly. You can come to student fees or student fee committee, and we can reach out to them as well. And it's definitely a question we can ask Julia for you. Julia Conrad is her full name, and then you can find her email in the directory. All right. Thank you for that. So will alumni have access to any recreation facilities built in the future health and wellness center? We are currently paying for it, correct? Question mark. Well, yes. So student fees, we allocated about $5 million towards, the Student Success Center and towards buildings in the future. And a reasonable amount of our student fees do go to buildings that some students aren't going to get the chance to see. And so as far as alumni go, I don't know of a program that is going to allow alumni to access these buildings. I could be wrong. I don't know if it's something that they've talked about. It is a super interesting concept, but I know that there are universities that offer like public access to their facilities like health and wellness centers. I know that COCC does something like that where you can be a community member who has access to it. So I've heard it just mentioned in a meeting that possibly alumni would have, see like a reduction in the fee that you would have as a community member, as someone, who graduated from OSU and at one point, paid into building those buildings. So if that gives you an answer, and it's definitely something I'm willing to bring up in the leadership team meetings and other talks about future buildings. So. The question is, what is your favorite part of your job? I would say just getting to know students. I know it hasn't been the best year for it because we've been online virtual, but normally being in the office, student life, and having students come by and getting to meet all the people on the committees and just working with them, I've made some really good friends, and definitely just, I guess the social aspect, but also just being able to represent students. I know there's a lot of struggles, especially this year, so I feel like I've gotten the opportunity to be a voice for students. Anyone else like to add their favorite part of their job? Okay, sounds good. Emil, you got an answer?
Yeah, of course. I can add a little bit to my favorite part of the job. Definitely the amazing friendships I've made through this job. Working together has been a great experience so far with amazing teams. But not only that, I've been able to work with all the clubs and all their amazing initiatives and how they've adapted to, and seeing how they've adapted to this virtual situation. That was definitely one of my favorite parts of this job this year, at least.
Thank you, Emil. All right, it looks like our next question is, can students from any major have open access to Ed Ray Hall, Makerspace, and build projects, or does a student need to be enrolled in a class to have access? It's a good question. I don't know the answer to. Does anyone else know? I'm sure it's something that we could advocate for. It sounds like it's definitely going to be something accessible to students. I don't know about the restrictions on whether or not you're in a class for using that space. So I can follow up with the leadership team, and I don't know. I think it looks like it's from Obsidian, so I'll reach out to Quentin and see if he knows what student was asking that question. And we can definitely reach out and find the right people to answer that question. What is the status of the Student Success Center, and when is it expected to be built? So we're still waiting on whether or not we're going to get funded by the state. That's the biggest thing we're waiting on. If we get the money from the state, then we can start building, and it should be, from my understanding, 2 to 3 years after we get that funding. So the projection, from my understanding, is 2023. But that obviously does rest in the funding that's going to come from the state. So there's that. How do students advocate for an indoor track and rock climbing wall to be included in the future health and wellness building? So as far as advocating for things that you're interested in on campus, one of the easiest ways is just to reach out to us, any of these committee members. We all sit on these committees that would address something like this. And there was an open forum at one point about the new buildings. I think the specific one was about the Student Success Center. But watch out in your email for open forums about that, because they're always looking for student input. And it's definitely something that we can reach out to Kelly Sparks would be one of the people we would reach out to in that situation. So connecting with one of us or just connecting directly with administration here is a great way of advocating for something you'd like to see in a future building.
To jump into, I know that there's been a lot of talk about a rock climbing wall being installed. I don't know how feasible the indoor track is, but I like that idea as well.
Thank you, Emerson. Could we get a bike washing station and a ski waxing station on campus? How would we go about advocating for these types of amenities? Emil?
Yeah, so that is a great question. I know together with the cycling club, we've already been advocating for a bike washing station in the Student Success Center. There are two ways to go about this that both involve student government. The easiest way would be just to reach out to any of us that are on ASCC or SFC. We are usually invited to join leadership meetings that discuss this. And then, as Taha said, also attending the open forums, because they're always looking for student input on these things. And then another way to go about this, because I see this involves resources that could potentially benefit two of our sports clubs on campus, is if you are part of either the ski, snowboard, Nordic and Alpine Club, or the cycling club, is working with their executive team and ASCC to write a proposal letter so that ASCC and student government in general can advocate for such resources and amenities on the new space they are going to build soon.
Thank you, Emil. Yeah, and just like Emil said, advocating through a club or through obviously this committee, either one of these committees is a really good idea and a really easy way to get your voice heard. What are the current plans for fall 2020 term? How will student health and safety be ensured? So for this question, although we do advocate students' voice in like how students are feeling about regulations, how students want to see the campus, we're not the deciding factor in those discussions. A lot of the university's decisions are dictated by the county's decisions. So the risk level we're in and the guidance from the CDC and the county health officials are going to be what decide what fall 2020 is going to look like. Obviously, the plan is to have more in-person year. Hopefully, vaccinations roll out and students are vaccinated and teachers are vaccinated, and we'll be able to have a much more normal year. But that is really up in the air as far as what the county and the state and the CDC is going to allow universities to do. If that answers that question. Does anyone else have anything for that? Awesome. Right. So one other question is, what are tuition and student fees going to look like next year? I don't think I can afford to go to college if they increase a lot. So the tuition froze this year. Normally there's a steady increase in tuition every single year. We're not 100% sure what the increase is going to be this year in tuition, but it's, we're almost 100% sure it's going to be under 5%. It's almost always under 5% on the tuition increase. And then the student fee right now is $300. We've done a reduction every single term to try and give back to students on events we couldn't do. So the student fee is looking at like $325 next year. So a $25 increase from this year. And obviously, if there's still restrictions and we can't use that money for the events that students want, then we are going to look at another student fee reduction. And that's obviously the student fee committee's decision, but looking at another student fee reduction and giving that money back to students is something that's super important to our committees. So if that answers your question, it should happen very soon, the decision making on what exactly tuition is going to look like for next year, but it shouldn't increase by more than 5%. And then the $25 increase for the student fee has already been decided. Do you work with OSU Corvallis or other universities on initiatives? If so, how? Michael, do you want to go ahead and answer this one?
Sure. Yeah. So we work with OSU Corvallis on a quite a few different issues, honestly. Like I know specifically for diversity, equity, and inclusion, we rely on main campus a lot of the time to do DEI work because they have much like broader resources than we have available on our campus. So we oftentimes work with the equal opportunity and access department that they have on their campus on initiatives on our campus. And then we do a lot of joint lobbying with OSU main campus, specifically this year for the Student Success Center and other issues that are related to both campuses. And then Marichelle, I don't know if you were also working on some initiatives with main campus as well, right?
Yeah, just recently with our menstrual equity project that we passed on our campus, I've had reach out from OSU's their student government from main campus on Corvallis on advocating for that initiative on their campus. So that's really exciting. And then recently, just with lobby days, we've been providing testimony alongside other universities and colleges, including community colleges like Central Oregon Community College. So we've been in conversation with other universities on important initiatives like securing a basic needs navigator on every college and university's campus, as well as the student voice bill, which would focus on a task force for legislators to come to different colleges and campuses to do focus groups with underrepresented students. And just looking into the future, back and forth with OSU Corvallis Maine, we have been working with them on food drives and potentially having a system set up where staff and faculty could do a payroll contribution, which is something that was started at OSU Corvallis Maine, but we're trying to replicate that here at OSU-Cascades.
Thank you guys. Yeah, and the other thing is I have almost bi-weekly meetings with ASOSU, president and vice president, and we sit on a lot of, especially on legislative questions and stuff like that, a lot of representative committees with them and work to represent student voice. And then we also probably every other month, I'd say, have a meeting with the president from ASOSU, PSU, and U of O, and we all sit down and talk about student government and what our initiatives are and what we're working on. So yeah. How is student voice represented within the university? Do you sit on committees or meet with administrators? Elizabeth, you want to go ahead and answer this one?
Yeah, and Taha just kind of answered it. So every week there are multiple different meetings held both with administration, other schools, with the Ops Council, and a member from either ASCC or SFC sits on one of those meetings. And if for some reason students aren't allowed to, or we have to be invited to, then Kristen, who's our advisor, sits on a committee. So we do almost on every single committee that I'm aware of have a voice somehow. And they're very active in requesting student voices. So they don't allow us to just come once and say what we think. They invite us, they pose the problem or question, and then they give us another week to gather feedback to bring back to them. So I would say that yes, student voices are very well represented on all committees.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. My class modality has changed frequently. Has student government noticed and voiced concerns of mismarketing modality to new students, understanding COVID-19 effects of available modality? Elizabeth, do you want to answer this one, and I can follow up as well?
Yeah, so we did, as the student government, realize that the marketing was a little far-fetched with what to expect, and we have voiced that to administration, and we hope to see that it changes, but a lot of it we have no control over. That being said, just on our own, we've noticed that modalities have changed, and I think that that's unfortunate, where a class might be offered hybrid and then there's only one or two students actually showing up to campus to attend. And I think it actually becomes more difficult for the professor or even the students that are virtual. And so sometimes the classes do change back to just virtual. And so I think just right now we all need to be really flexible in what we're doing and understanding, because we kind of are going at this day by day. And as things change, we really have no control over the numbers other than ourselves and keeping ourselves safe and healthy. Yeah, so that's unfortunate, but we do realize the problem.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a concern we voiced to the administration on both committees, just about how the marketing sounds and what it looks like, and how certain it sounds when it comes out versus how certain it is in reality. And obviously, just like Elizabeth said, we don't really have direct control over any of it, but that input has been communicated to the university, and it's definitely a concern that student government has in general, for sure. Does anyone else have anything? Okay, awesome. Could you talk about the different student support services available to students through ASCC? What about the housing subsidy program? Michael?
Yes, so the housing subsidy program, that's a brand new thing that we're kicking off this spring quarter. It'll be available on the 29th, the application for that. So that's basically just a form that you can apply to receive assistance on your housing, like paying for your housing. And it's basically going to work in conjunction with student, financial aid. If you have financial aid, and if you don't have financial aid, you can absolutely still apply. But we're going to try and make sure that it works in a way that doesn't decrease financial aid in any way. So that's a new form that will be coming out. And then Marichelle, do you want to talk about some of the other programs that we have?
Yeah, so just some of the programs we have with ASCC's advocacy program is the food pantry, which right now currently we're offering 3 options for students. The first is like a customizable food box that is created in the student life office and then is available for pickup Monday through Thursday from 10 to 4, I believe. And we just have a staff on hand, so you would text the person on hand that we have, and then we'd have a bag with an order number for you to pick up. And then we're also offering for rural and students that are out of state, but anyone can apply for it. We ask that people apply for it once just so we can help as many students as possible, but doing a $50 grocery gift card program for like Fred Meyer or for Safeway and other local grocery chains in the area. And then the third option is food voucher forms. So getting around 5 to 10 food vouchers to use in the beaver dams and be able to access the food resources, in addition to the Safer Living Kits, which Michael mentioned earlier, but is a Safer Living Kits extension where we're offering all hygiene items from like dental to menstrual to contraceptive, in addition to other hygiene items such as like combs, band-aids, shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, razors. So any kind of items that we felt were necessary, especially from an equity perspective, we have on stock. And we have a large file cabinet that's just full of hygiene items. So I highly recommend, if anyone needs those items, to fill out this requestable, like customizable form for the food pantry or for the Safer Living Kits. In addition to that, we have the childcare subsidies, which is to support our student parents. Currently, right now, you can have up to $630 awarded to you to take care of your children's childcare needs, and also enroll your children in our on-campus childcare at the Little Beeves program, which is located in the GRC. With that, an extension of the Safer Living Kits, and what we hope to see coming forward is the Menstrual Equity Project, which would provide free pads and tampons in every public bathroom on campus, including our gender inclusive, for all students on campus that menstruate. And with that service, we wanted to cut out the middleman, so cut me out of that picture essentially, so students have direct access to hygiene items and things that are very necessary, especially for female-bodied students and people that menstruate on our So I would say that in the future, if there are programs that students want to see or student support programs, it all starts with an idea like the housing subsidy that was started by Michael and other students that expressed an interest. So if you want to see other support programs or feel like there needs to be more comprehensive or options, then definitely give us feedback through the emails and through our office hours.
Thank you, Marichelle. Thank you, Michael. Are there affinity spaces / clubs for minority students to connect? Michael, you want to go ahead and answer this one?
So yes, there are clubs. I don't think that any of them are currently formed and doing anything. Am I incorrect on that, Emil?
That is a great question, Michael. I am currently not aware of any diversity or equity clubs that are active, but I know you are the president of Saga, and we'd love to see you back.
Yeah, and so this quarter it was basically just like time constraints for me. I can't run Saga and do school and do this job at the same time. So that club is formed, but it currently doesn't really have like a leadership team that is taking on control at the moment. We do have a Latinx club that is not, I don't believe it has any active members at this point in time, or at least doesn't have a leadership team. We also have an exchange students club, but I also don't think that has any membership so all of these clubs are available, like people can take those up. And if you are looking for space or if you're wanting to create space on campus, that is available. What we're trying to do at this point in time is get staff to facilitate affinity spaces so that we're not relying on just clubs, because like club membership is like it waxes and wanes over time. We want to make sure that we have something more stable. So we are trying to develop, first of all, affinity space specific multicultural space for us to host programming in and have staff members available for people to to facilitate events and to facilitate affinity spaces. So yeah, that's the answer to that question.
Thank you, Michael. Will your public meeting times change next term? If so, where will you publish these changes? Andrew?
Yeah, so ASCC and SFC's meeting times do change by term, and they will probably change for the spring term. They change to be able to make sure as many of the members can attend as possible. That being said, the times of the meetings will always be available on the website, so osu-cascades.edu/ASCC and /SFC, as well as the link to join the meeting and the meeting agenda. You can also find the meeting minutes from previous meetings for ASCC and SFC. So if you want to be up to date when you're hopping into a meeting, you can always find those on the website. We'd love to have you.
Thank you, Andrew. Can we get a tennis court on campus or a basketball court? So super good question. The answer hypothetically is yes. Logistically, it's super complicated. There's not a lot of space on our campus, obviously. So trying to get a hold of that space is super hard. Obviously, the way we talked about advocating for anything before, starting a basketball club or a tennis club, super good way to advocate for the need for those things, and just reaching out to our committee, reaching out to the administration about that, something students are interested in. And then if you do start a club, there are resources that you can get to in our community through club and club funding. So if you started I know that something that happened through recreation last year was that recreation was paying for students to be able to go to a local basketball, like indoor basketball court, and be able to play. And so that was paid for through student fees. So if you did start a basketball club, finding an indoor court in town and getting a membership for students is something that you could do in a basketball club. Something you could also do in a tennis club. I know that there are other resources that we could team up with in the community to try and alleviate the fact that we just don't have that much space on campus and we don't have that part of our campus developed yet. But definitely advocating for that in the new spaces that are to come, and is something that you can do through our committees or directly to administration or the university. So thank you for that question. Let's see. I'd like to see the dining hall serve more fresh produce. How can ASCC help advocate for students who need healthier options? So if you reach out to us with that concern, and that's something that came up in the last open forum as well, we can get in touch with people in the dining hall. We can get in touch with people who run the dining hall. So that's Lori Waters and other people in that department. Emil, did you have some?
Yeah, I just wanted to expand a little bit on that. There is a group of students that are part of a focus group for the dining hall, which I am personally part of. So feel free to reach out to me with any concerns about the dining hall, and I can voice that in that focus group as well.
Yeah, and I definitely think that the dining hall is super interested in expanding and being as progressive as possible and helping students have the options that they want and need. And so they're definitely open to that feedback and would actually enjoy it, I think, from the people that I've talked to. And we're definitely people who can convey that to them as well. So reach out to any of us or come to a committee meeting and let us know, and we can pass that information on. But it is also something that we don't have a direct effect on. It's not funded by student fees, and we're not the ones deciding that, but we can voice student concern to them. Is DEI integrated into student life, student government, hiring practices? Do you feel your committee reflects the diversity on campus or the community? Michael?
Yes. So to answer your question, yes, DEI is absolutely integrated into our hiring practices. We will generally ensure that standard DEI hiring practices are followed. Obviously, like we have all the anti-discrimination stuff, but also like our student government is 85% minorities at this point. So we have a very diverse council that I do believe reflects the diversity of our campus as well. And then internally, also just on campus, we do have like a diversity committee that's set up to review certain processes on campus, and our fabulous, of course, diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator, Aaron Rook, who does a lot of excellent work on our campus to ensure that DEI practices are followed on campus.
Thank you, Michael. Next question is, can we get a swimming pool or hot tub on campus? Well, again, hypothetically, yes. It comes down to the space issue, and an ops council, which is operations council, is the one that deals with a lot of that stuff. Obviously, I don't know the specific logistics of a hot tub and stuff, but obviously the wiring and the water supply and stuff like that on campus is something that you would need to work through. Starting a club again is a good idea, and reaching out to the university about the possibility of that being part of our health and wellness center down the road is something that you can definitely do through our committee or directly to the administration. So again, it's just logistics. It's something that you can advocate for through our committee or directly to the university. But yeah. How much student fee funding is put aside for buildings? What is the largest funding area other than buildings? Elizabeth?
Yeah, so currently about 45% of the student fees, that incidental fee, goes towards buildings. And then the next biggest bucket would be campus recreation at 20%.
Thank you, Elizabeth. The next question is selling single-use water bottles in the Beaver Dam really necessary while we have refilling stations on campus and most students use hydro flasks? How do you advocate for sustainability on campus? To answer the last question first, advocating for sustainability on campus, you can do that through our committee and directly to the university. I know that Elizabeth and the student fee committee has been discussing a green fee, which would essentially be using student fees to have more to use renewable energy and make our campus more sustainable. We're looking into using digital screens in the next couple of years to try and bring down the usage of paper and printing and stuff like that to give information to students. So that's some of the things that we're doing, and some of the ways that you can advocate as a student. And then as far as selling single-use water bottles, that again is a decision that's made by the dining hall and their contract, assumably with who their provider. So that's not again something that we can decide ourselves, but it is something that we can you know pass on to the dining hall, and something that if a student feels comfortable doing, can also reach out to the dining hall about. Can you start a club in the spring? If so, how do you do that? Emil.
Yeah, that is a great question. The student fee committee, so clubs can be started at any time during the year. Student fee committee has set aside some money for club startups specifically, and it's pretty easy. You just need 4 students in total and a faculty or staff member that will serve as your advisor. And then feel free to email me, and we can work about creating a constitution and setting up a mission statement, as well as preparing for a budget hearing with the student fee committee, so your club gets allocated some money to work with.
Awesome. Thank you, Emil. Can we get more disc golf baskets and an outdoor ping pong table on campus? Good question. Yes, through clubs is one of probably the easiest way to do that. Recreation is another option. Obviously, some of those things sound like something that recreation might be interested in for events and stuff like that. But as far as student fee funding, things like that, if that's something students are interested in, come to a meeting, let us know. We can reach out to the operations council and see if we can get that, and if we have the funding for it, and talk to recreation about if they're interested in doing any of those things as well. So just come to a meeting, let us know what you're thinking, and we can reach out to the right people to try and see if we can make that happen. Also, side note, again, I know my answers have been very similar for all of these requests, but starting a club for either of those things, either a disc golf club or a ping pong club, would give you the funding to be able to buy the stuff for it, and give you the resources of the student fee committee. Not that you wouldn't have them if you were just a student, but if you're a club, to get those resources and have them on campus. So there we go. Why did all of you want to sit on student government? So I can get started. I did student government in high school. It was super interesting, and I just enjoyed interacting with the administration, being able to, voice student concern. It was something that I noticed at my high school, at least, was lacking, was student voice, and it didn't seem like it was concentrated on it. And obviously, all schools, including our university, the decisions they make directly affect students. Almost all of their decisions, if not, well, all of their decisions affect students. So student voice is one of the most important parts of that, and being able to represent students is super important, and it's always been an interest of mine. So I'll let a couple other people hop in here. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I initially decided to apply because I saw on Beaver Tracks that there was open positions, and I wanted to get involved. And I didn't really know what I was getting involved with when I applied. But then after my interview and finding out what student fee committee was, I was really excited and decided that I wanted to be a part of that conversation and have a voting hand in where the money I pay goes towards. And then at the end of the year, when I reapplied, I did so because I knew more, and I knew I wanted to keep going and make changes where I would see issues and knew that changes needed to be made. I decided to stay on the student fee committee, and then ended up getting moved up to the vice president and was able to sit on ASCC, which has been really awesome. And I highly encourage everyone to at some point apply for some student leadership position, because it's really a great learning experience.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Anyone else want to share? Marichelle? Oh, Marichelle, then Emerson.
Emerson can go first.
Go for it, Emerson.
Sure. I was just gonna say I like Elizabeth saw the job posting, and I had lived in the dorms my freshman year, and then worked in the dining hall for most of my sophomore year. And then so becoming a member at large, or it used to be called student representative, kind of just seemed like the next step. And I'm an American Studies major. I'm interested in public policy, and I'm also interested in economics. And so student fee committee seemed like a great fit for me.
Marichelle?
Yeah, so I sat previously with ASCOCC, so their student government, and I was part of a lot of important initiatives with Oregon Student Association, just advocating for minorities on our campus. And from that experience, I just really found my voice and found that I have a perspective that is valued in these places. So I've decided that I wanted to continue that leadership position and continue advocating for different perspectives from my experiences. The thing that's most rewarding to me being in student government is being able to see that my actions and the way that I engage with my colleagues has positive changes on our campus, and that we're able to use power to create positive changes, not just for us, but for everyone on our campus, and help people. And I really see this position as a way of paying it forward from times that I have also experienced things such as like food or housing insecurity. So it's really important for me to sit in these places where decisions are being made and to provide different perspectives.
Thank you, Marichelle. Anyone else want to share before we go to the next question? Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, I, like Marichelle, also served on COCC student government and then we also served on OSA together at one point. I served on OSA for 3 years, which is the Oregon Student Association, a student lobbyist group. And I just really enjoy advocating for students. I just fell in love with it when I was on OSA, and it just, this seemed like the best outlet after we left OSA. And I think that it's just amazing to do this kind of work and like really get some stuff done for students, kind of like what Marichelle said, paying it forward.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else? Okay. All right, so it looks like our last question here is, if you had to be a type of pasta, which pasta would you be? And this was like coincidentally a question we had on our bios a couple years back, so, or I guess last year now. But my answer still from last year was I'd be farfalle, which is like the little bow tie pastas. I think it's my favorite pasta type, and it holds sauce well, and it just looks cool. So I got to go with that. Elizabeth?
Yes, this is a great question, and I don't really have a good reason, but mine would be the tricolor rotini, and just because they are my favorite noodles.
Awesome, thank you. Marichelle?
Yeah, I would say like potato gnocchi. I love that, and I just have memories with my like best friend growing up making gnocchi all the time. So
thank you, Marichelle. Michael?
I would probably be fettuccine. I just love fettuccine Alfredo.
Emerson?
I actually have to copy Marichelle. I was going to say potato gnocchi as well. And I would say to anyone who's watching, Grocery Outlet has great deals on prepackaged potato gnocchi. It is very cheap and easy to make, and I eat it all the time.
Love it. Grocery Outlet. A little plug. Andrew?
You know those like little SpongeBob characters in the mac and cheese boxes? That's the type of pasta I'd be.
Mo?
I would be penne because I think the cylindrical shape just really does the sauce well, carries it.
All right. Emil?
Yeah, I'm not a pasta expert, honestly, so I'm just gonna stick with simple spaghettis.
All right, awesome. Thank you. I think those were all the questions. I'm going to double check real quick. All right. Does anyone have anything else before we close today? Doesn't look like it. All right. Well, our meeting times and links are online. If any students want to join, please feel free. We always love to have students join. So hop on our websites and join those. And yeah, thank you for everyone who joined.